Greetings and welcome to ROIClear. My name is Ray Hightower, and if you're an entrepreneur like me, you're probably in the middle of planning for 2021 right now. This is being recorded in December of 2020. And we're looking around, like any entrepreneur, an entrepreneur who wants to grow their business wants great tools. Today, we're going to discuss the tools in this book, Traction by Gino Wickman. And we have as our guest an expert on traction and the entrepreneurial operating system and an expert on leadership and entrepreneurship. This is Rainee Busby. Rainee, thank you for coming to ROIClear.
Thank you for having me. Super excited.
Yes. We're going to start off the way we do with all of our guests. We're going to start off and ask you to give us an elevator pitch, an elevator overview of what you're doing with the EOS, with the Entrepreneurial Operating System, and with Traction. And why don't you give us a quick overview in elevator style, if you will.
Absolutely. So we really help business owners get what they want out of their business. So there's like 400 and some folks like myself, professionally trained around the world. We work with the owner and the leadership team, help them get laser focused on their vision so everybody understands what it is and how they're going to get there and how they contribute. Discipline and accountability, right? So we got to execute to the vision. And then finally, let's have fun. Let's build a healthy leadership team, a healthy culture, and you pull it all together and it's magical. And so I love what I do, and that's really what EOS does. And it helps every single for-profit or nonprofit business. I work with everything from doctors to big manufacturing companies to churches. I mean, it's wild how flexible and simple it is.
So you're touching a wide variety of organizations. Anytime people are gathered together to achieve an objective, you can help them.
Yeah, my typical best clients, they were growing and all of a sudden they kind of hit that ceiling. And all of a sudden they were working harder and they can't figure out. So we got it. What got us here won't get us there. Also, owners who are looking for exit strategy. They're looking to either sell their business, transition to other family members. I work with a lot of family businesses. So, it's the typical pains. I'm not getting enough profitability. I can't get my people to be accountable. I don't have the right people. Every single client says, I bet you haven't heard that before. I said, only every single conversation I'm in.
And I bet you see commonalities between the not-for-profit and the for-profit businesses. Anytime people are together, sometimes there are conflicts, I'm sure.
Oh, conflicts, politics. I mean, you wouldn't believe what goes on behind the doors of for-profits and nonprofits. I tell them, if you are delivering products or services and you have people, you need this model because it works. It gives you that peace of mind that, for entrepreneurs, they fell in love with their business when they started it. And then all of a sudden they fell out of love because it just became too complicated, too difficult. They just weren't having fun. They lost their life integrations. They were making sacrifices that wasn't part of the deal. We're going to work hard for a couple of years and then we're going to be ready to go.
Right.
And that didn't happen.
Right. And that's interesting. So many of us, we do, when we start the business, we're in love with the idea of making the widget or whatever it is and making the widget or providing the service. And we started it because we were an expert in that area.
Yes.
And now we have to deal with running a company.
And that's not so easy. And you don't learn that in school either. I was doing a webinar, a big kind of workshop for some MBA students at Texas A&M. And they're all taking notes vigorously because they don't learn it in school, right? So it's really taking something simple. There's really, I would say probably the best part about it, even though it's simple, it's powerful. And it's perfect for small to medium-sized businesses who don't have a lot of time for nonsense, right? They're like, let's get down, tactical, make it happen, drive results, and it does. And that's what's super exciting about it.
Right. I like the idea, in the book, they talk about having a 10-year vision and then breaking it down into 3 years and then the 1 year and then the 90-day rock.
Yeah.
And We don't have a whole lot of time because there's so much here. I could ask you questions about all of it, but maybe, and ideally what I want to do is maybe ask you about a few key areas of the book, and maybe we can unpack some of those. And there's no way we'll go into great detail, but we'll get into some details, certainly. Could you unpack that idea of moving from the vision down to the 90-day rock? What happens in that process? And let's unpack that a little bit if we can.
Yeah, absolutely. So most businesses are really good at creating the vision, right? We go offsite for a couple of days, come back with this lovely plan, but making it real doesn't happen very easy. We need to make sure everybody understands it and then break it down into bite-sized pieces. So we take that vision and we say, okay, if that's what we look like in 3 years, what do we need to do this year to march towards that vision? That's our 1-year plan. And then 90-day, that cadence, every one of those goals, so we do 5 to 7 goals, we say, okay, goal number 1, what do we need to do this next 90 days to move it forward? So we don't wait till the end of the year and figure out we've hardly even worked on that goal. So each one we walk through and say, what's this next 90 days? Maybe it's nothing for that goal. That's our company rocks. And then the magic really happens in that weekly level 10 meeting. It's 90 minutes for the leadership team. That's where all the accountability happens. That's where all the discipline happens. We solve issues, the root cause of the issues, not the symptoms. How you doing on your rocks? So everybody knows they have to report out on their rocks and scorecard measurables every single week. And so they don't show up unprepared, right? They're ready to go. They know what they're accountable to, not only like the owner, but they're also accountable to the other members of the leadership team and to the whole organization. It's just the whole, it's kind of like that peer power, you know?
Yes, yeah. I envision it as kind of just from reading the book, and I'm going to throw my own metaphor on top of it, right? Why not? Like a basketball team. A basketball team can be much more effective when they know they can depend on the other members of the team. If you pass the ball and you know your other teammate's going to catch the ball and make that 3-point shot or make the next play, you can relax a bit, or at least be more professional and focus on the goal. I think that's what it sounds like.
Absolutely. I use sports analogies all the time.
Yes, yes.
I want to make sure somebody's going to be there to catch that ball, right?
Right.
Are your employees on the field playing the game? Are they sitting on the bench, maybe the bleachers, or maybe they're not even in the park? They're just kind of waiting for you to tell them what they need to do. So get them on the field, playing the game, and let's win. And
right. Absolutely.
Analogy.
Yeah. Go for it. Yeah, analogies are wonderful. That's how we learn many times, right?
Absolutely.
Now, you mentioned something in the middle of your description of going from the vision, the 10-year vision, to the 1-year plan and the 90-day rock. You mentioned level 10 meetings. Tell us a little bit about those, please.
Yeah. So level 10 really stands for, if we were to grade a meeting from 1 to 10, 1 being horrible, 10 being amazing, because most people hate meetings. We want it to be a 10 every single time. And I've had people tell me, I hate meetings, I'm going to start right out of the very first session. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to prove you wrong. And then they become my biggest advocate. They're like, I love meetings, the level 10, because they're so quick, concise. The first 25 minutes, you know everything that's going on. All the measurables are on track. You know where the rocks are. Anything we committed to do last week needs to get done. We share any headlines. And then we go into basically issue processing. And issues are good things, ideas, opportunities, obstacles, frustrations, anything that's not working, holding us back, or that we need to take advantage of. We tee it up. We use an issue solving track, identify the root cause, capture all the facts, figure out what'll take the action to solve it, and solve it. Actually take the action to solve it.
Solving a problem in a meeting?
I know, is that crazy? Most people do a whole lot of discussing, right? And you
yes.
You're like, okay, we talked about a lot. We have absolutely nothing done. So that's the cool part, is there is an action to solve it, and there's a leader in the room that gets signed that accountability. And it's
right. I love the flow like you described. You go from issues, solutions, and then the accountability. It's assigned to someone. That execution is assigned to someone. And then they're accountable at the next meeting.
Yes, they're going to get asked about it, whether it could become a new rock. And so they're going to say every week, how you doing on that rock? Are you on track or off track? If you're off track,
Yes.
you need help, do we need to drop it to the issues list to help you, or do you have it? And so the team wants to help set everybody up for success, but they know clearly they're accountable. So don't walk in the room and not know where your rock is, or not being willing to ask for help if you need it. So it's,
Yes, yes, yeah. And as I understand it, there are corporate rocks or company-wide rocks and division rocks and department rocks and individual rocks.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah. So what we, it's not just the leadership team that gets the EOS love, Entrepreneurial Operating System, right? It goes all throughout the organization to the very bottom of the organization. So I am basically a trainer. I'm teaching the members of the leadership team how to do it. And then they go back to their teams. So they start creating their own department rocks, solving their own department issues. They have their own level 10 meetings. And so everybody's in the level 10 meeting. The communication is phenomenal. That's probably one of the biggest accolades I hear from clients after for our very first session. They're like, the communication has increased substantially, especially if you're in multiple offices, multiple states, which I have clients that are like that as well. They love it.
Yes, yes. And now your clients are doing this over Zoom or Google Hangout or whatever video chat tool they're using.
Yeah, not, for my sessions, I do them over Zoom if I have to because of COVID.
Yes,
But I love to be in the room. There's something about dynamics, and just as a facilitator, I'm a facilitator, an educator, and also a business advisor. So I'll say, well, you can do it this way or that way. I've seen it work here. I'm also watching people, reading body language and facial expressions. And if I
right.
see people kind of doing that, I'll be, all right, what's going on? But I keep it fun, and then I'm educating them how to learn to do this tool so that they can graduate. Because I want them to learn to do it without me, so I can go on and help others. Because I only can handle about 15 to 20 clients at any one time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Rainee, you're like a therapist. You're a group therapist for businesses.
I am exactly that. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
No, and I like to say I'm their guide, so if you want to climb a mountain, I make sure you're physically and mentally ready. You have the right tools. And then
Yes.
take the right path. And I'm going to get you to the top. And then you can go from there to wherever your heart desires for your business. But once a client, always a client. I love my clients. And so I'm always here to support them, and love you ask what our prep kind of about how are people kind of surviving, and all our EOS clients, almost every single one are coming back and saying, we're not only surviving, we're thriving because the EOS model enabled us to stay focused. When chaos happens, people have a tendency to go to their own corners, but
Right.
just put everybody together and say, okay, what's the problem? Let's IDS it.
Yes.
What changes do we need to make? What other opportunities are there that have opened up that we may not have noticed? And they just get their head down and they just start putting the next pieces together, the rocks, and then they just start making things happen. And it warms my heart when I get to hear the amazing stories from my clients that they're doing better than ever. So in some cases, COVID was a great thing for them because it really got them to do things differently. I always like say maybe their cheese was starting to dry up a little bit, and now they have brand new cheese.
Yes. Yeah. And it's interesting. You mentioned people, how the people are coming together too. There's so many tools there. I mean, so many, you mentioned the rocks and the vision, and the discipline and, IDS, and another tool, you mentioned people. There was a tool, get it, want it, capable of it.
Yeah. So
let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So right people, right seat. So
Yes.
we use an accountability chart. It sort of looks like an organizational chart, but organizational charts are politics and drive dysfunction. We focus on the box. What are the top roles that you're accountable for in that box, and one person per box?
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of tears down. So everybody's really clear what they're supposed to be doing and what they're accountable to, which is crazy because that doesn't happen nowadays.
Right.
To a point where we look at right people, they fit our core values, and these are real core values. These are not, we'll put a poster on the wall. We teach people how to really make them part of the fabric. And then we assess if you're the right people, you fit our core values. You're just part of the family.
Right.
And then the GWC, do they get it? Do they want it? Do they have the capacity?
Mm-hmm.
That has to do with that box on that accountability chart. So we're looking for their natural DNA characteristics, what they're just really strong at and they love to do, and they put them in a role where they can take advantage of those strengths, that it's magical. So you get the right core value fit, get them in the right role, and just turn them loose and watch it happen. So
Right.
we want that a sustainable, right people, right seat.
Yes, right people, right seat. Wonderful. So now we've gone through large parts of the book, large parts of the theory, the book learning part. I was wondering if you could share with us maybe a war story or two, or a war story or two, maybe where you went into an environment and they maybe didn't have it together, and you were able to, as you said, train the trainers and achieve success. So tell us a story, please, Rainee.
Okay, geez, so many wonderful stories. Well, I will tell you, this is a great story about a company in Victoria, Texas, and they do internet. They provide internet services for kind of those underserved communities around the Victoria area and the counties. And so when I started working with them, it was a kind of a husband-wife. Husband was getting ready to retire, but he had no idea how that was going to happen because he was so ingrained in the business. Wife was going to stay in for a while. They had a lot of people doing things, but not necessarily the right things. And so when we got together, they were trying to do their own strategy planning, and she finally just said, forget it, I'm calling Rainee. And so I went in and helped them put all the structure together. And then up comes, then we had a big hurricane that hit Victoria. And so they had a whole bunch of their towers taken out. So they used an EOS, staying focused, because it enabled them to communicate. And that was really a cool deal for them. And then they moved into back on track, back to growing the business. Then COVID-19 hits, right? And so the husband, he retired 2 years to the day. He said, I'm retiring on my 70th birthday, and I'm having the Bellamy brothers come in. I'm like, I will be at your birthday party. We did. That was exciting. And then, this COVID-19, that's been a huge opportunity, because internet now is like utilities.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Need it for the children to be able to take their school lessons. And so now they've had these opportunities where people have tried to buy them. They bought out one of their main arch rival competitors that they
really.
Yeah, so that was a huge deal. They had in their 10-year target, and this was set like 2 years ago, that we want to be up to like 10,000 customers. They hit that this year. So like in 3 years, they're like,
oh, remarkable.
So, yeah, they're like, the benefits of just staying focused and looking at opportunities. And now they have another company that wants to partner and take advantage of a $60 million grant to put fiber infrastructure into their market that they get to own after the fact. So that's an example of just using the tools and staying focused, and whether you want to exit or if you want to just grow and getting people where they need to be. And they're constantly moving people around to make sure that we always have the right fit, because the business will grow and we need to make sure we have the right people to get us to the next level. That's a lot of times we don't have. And so we got to make tough decisions.
Yes. That's a remarkable story. You have an internet service provider in Victoria, Texas. They're providing services to people in underserved communities, and they're thinking, one decides that he wants to retire, and they're figuring out how to manage that. And they had some processes in place. They weren't like a plain old mom and pop. They had some processes in place. So they were somewhat established. So they certainly understood the value of planning based on what you shared with me right here. But it sounds like, although they understood the value of planning, you were able to give them tools that were able to supercharge and step up what they were able to do with their planning. Yeah. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely spot on. And it's a good point that you made, is that this tool doesn't really work well with broken companies and companies that have a lot of politics. They don't want to delegate things and empower people to make decisions. And so I've tried implementing in companies that were not very healthy, and so it doesn't work well because you have too many challenges to overcome. It is a paradigm shift, but
yes.
I like to say it's for good companies that want to become great, because we take them to the level.
Okay, so they have to want it. There's the W again, just like, GWC with employees. You apply GWC with clients too, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah. So when I first go in and talk to someone that's interested in learning about EOS, we spend a couple hours together, all complimentary, and I let them know I'm vetting them as much as they're vetting me, because I put real skin in the game. So I'll go and deliver all day, And if they don't believe I provide the value, they don't pay me. So we don't have any contracts either. It's we just keep going along as they perceive the value. And so we got to make sure it's a fit for both of us. And so that's a big part. And that kind of puts their mind at ease as well. Cause I'm not looking to just add clients. I love what I do, but I want everybody, I want raving fan clients, right? Everybody to really be able to take it. I've got that you'll get a kick out of this. So anyone that has kids and family and all that, we have a personal version of the strategy document, so you can use it in your families. Because now they have a voice and they get involved in decision making. You have family 10 meetings. It's awesome. Yeah.
Oh my goodness! And then the kids grow up entrepreneurial. They start companies, and then we invest in the friends and family round, and we all become billionaires. Thank you, Rainee.
I like it. That's a great plan.
That's all coming together. Wow. I love that story. That's bouncing around in my head. I see how that would apply to the not-for-profit arena also.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I've dealt with a couple of them, but probably the one that I was most excited about is a church that I've been working with. And, we have a couple priests in the room and a couple of people that do administrative services, and every dysfunction known to man you would have experienced there. You just don't know it behind the scenes. I mean, people sabotaging the services. I mean, it was crazy.
Oh boy. Yeah.
We just started chipping away and cleaning it up, and man, they're probably my best client now. They're still focused. They've got the rocks pretty much prepared before I even get in the room. They have a really strong integrator, which is someone that kind of runs the day-to-day show, all the activities.
Right.
Had to do a quick pivot because of COVID. They had to start streaming live. They did that almost immediately. I mean, it's just night and day, the difference. They built this, they were a big construction project, added on to the church, built this huge playground area for the kids and a big walking path, a bigger impact in the community. I mean, it's just, you open up the doors for them to do what they're really good at.
Right.
All the noise behind the scenes of things to start working well. Volunteers are happier, right?
Yes.
Because that's a big part of how they operate. Yeah.
I like the way you said that. You open up the doors so that they can do the things that they're good at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, where they really drive value.
Your
footprint.
In the case of a church, I know a preacher who used to say, because you mentioned church dysfunction, people, oh, how could you have dysfunction as a church? They're church folks. And I know a preacher who used to say, a church is a hospital for sinners, not a museum for saints. So anywhere humans come together.
It is, yeah.
Politics,
positioning and power plays and all that fun stuff. Yes.
Right. That's what humans are. That's what humans do. Now, I understand you're speaking at an EOS conference coming up next year. Tell us a little bit about that, please.
Yeah, so in April, we're going to have, I think, the third or fourth EOS conference. That'll be in Houston, Texas, which is exciting, my own backyard. Okay. And we bring in a lot of big name speakers, and these are all people speaking the EOS language. So they are either implemented by someone like myself, or you can do it yourself. You can get the book. We give away all the tools.
Yes.
This is like 1,100 people roaming around, and we're offering virtual and in person. So all world that we're in.
Right.
And it's a great way to sharpen your tools, start to network with people that are using EOS and similar businesses, how they're using it, scorecard measurables. What are you measuring? What are you not? What's working best for you? So you continue to learn. And so I will be presenting the accountability chart.
Right. Okay.
So I'm going to be talking all about how it's different than an organizational chart, looking at the benefits of it, how it's constructed, making sure everybody has a box. And so I'm going to be doing teaching around that. So I'm excited to have the opportunity.
Right. I'm thinking there's a quote from the book on accountability that I had to highlight and just went back to it multiple times. It is I need to read it so I get it right. Accountable people appreciate numbers. Wrong people in the wrong seats usually resist measurables. Right people in the right seats love clarity.
Yes, and that is so true. And I will tell you that when I start working with clients, probably about 80% of the time, there's some change on the leadership team. Whether people are brought in, but most importantly, some people self-select out. because they
Yes.
like being held accountable. You know, they come in, their scorecard's off track again, and it's been off track for multiple weeks. And now they're starting, people are calling, hey, what's going on? You know, we're doing our part, you're not doing your part. So it kind of turns up the pressure a little bit. And
Right.
that's the folks that, I mean, they'll just self-select out. They'll go down the street to a company that doesn't have that kind of accountability and discipline.
Yes.
More of a freestyle kind of a person, I guess. But, and that's okay, because, you know, it's not a bad thing. It's just not a good fit for them.
Right.
And our culture is going to be accountability and discipline, and we're going to do what we say we're going to do, and we're going to be held accountable to it. And most people are, they're just so excited, because they may have naturally been someone holding themselves accountable, but when you work for a lot of people with people that aren't, it's so frustrating. And so then your great people leave.
Right. Yes. Nobody wins that. You know, my goodness, in an environment of accountability and discipline, you can actually have more fun. You know, you can, it's freeing, you know, yeah. So I'm just co-signing what you just said.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is.
Those sports analogies, right? I mean, the football team wants to win the Super Bowl. Every player on that team wants to win. They are dedicated, and they know they can only do it together. They can't do it. So they need everybody with that same mental focus and discipline to make it happen. And that's, you know, I always say, what's the difference between a practice game and a real game? It's the scoreboard. We call it a scorecard. Same thing. Here's the score. You got your individual player stats.
Right.
All together, and it's pretty cool stuff.
I'm totally going to steal that. What's the difference between practice and a real game? I'm totally going to steal that from you.
Please do. This is awesome. And then, you know, here's another good one for you can use. So you have a baseball diamond, right? And you have all the players in their positions, first, second, short, outfield, you know, line coaches. That's your accountability chart. Everybody gets on the field. They know exactly where they're supposed to be. They're in their seat. When the ball gets hit, that's when the processes kick in. So if a ball's going between, right, second and they'll say second and first, and then first knows whether they need to go for the ball, then the pitcher's going to cover, short's going to cover it. So, right? You
Yes.
That's your processes in place.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. You practice that up front. Oh yeah. You just gave me a flashback to Little League baseball. Practicing those drills. Oh my goodness. You know, good times. And it applies to business. That's why we use sports analogies in business, because it applies so many ways, doesn't it?
Yeah. And your customers love it because they're wanting to get their products and services consistent.
Yes.
And if we're not doing things consistently, we're not going to see the same results, just like in sports.
Right.
So, you know, high level core processes are a part of it too. So we identify what processes are missing, who owns it, how can we hold people accountable, train, retrain, and continuous improvement. You got a people, process, the sales, the marketing, a couple ops, nothing magical, high level, but you know, that's your franchise footprint, your way of doing business. Real handy if you want to expand into another location or another market. You just pick up, here's how we do it, and just duplicate it.
Yes. Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. It's hard to believe that we're at the end of our time together. This has gone so quickly, and I just want to ask you more and more questions. I have one final question that I have to ask you, and I ask this of all of our guests. What are you reading right now, or what have you read recently that had a real impact on you that you just want to share with people?
You know, I read a lot of business books. So there is a brand new book out that I thought your audience might be interested in. One of the main questions I get asked when it comes to how do I compensate people for performance? Because we don't want to give everybody a bonus, because you got your low performers and your high performers. Right. This is a brand new book. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, you know what?
Probably not.
Oh, Profit Works. Okay, now there it is.
It's written by a couple of EOS implementers. So it works in an EOS business, but also in a non-EOS business. And it has to do with simplified compensation models. So you know, usually people say, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to hire a compensation consultant or something like that. This book is simple, but it really breaks it down how to create compensation models that drive productivity and performance, ultimately profitability, right?
Yes.
So compensating people appropriately outside of their salary. So adding a little bit on top. And they give you lots of great examples. I read it and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm getting one for all my clients because they need to read this and think about it, because that's the next step, is to getting people, people will work hard for a culture, but we need to really help them focus on compensating them fairly.
Right.
Podcasts, I love Brene Brown. I think she's awesome.
Oh, she's amazing. Yes.
Patrick Lencioni is another huge fan.
Yes.
We have his stuff sprinkled throughout the EOS model, especially the 5 dysfunctions of a team.
Right.
We teach it annual. So yeah, I just love some of those thought leaders, and it's all about our people. We're all in the people business. We got to do it. We have great employees, and we got to help set them up for success.
We are all in the people business. We have great employees, and we have to set them up for success.
That's right.
Thank you. This is wonderful. It has been a pleasure talking to you, Rainee Busby. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Pleasure speaking with you as well. Thanks for having me on. And if anybody ever wants to reach out with any questions, I'm happy to help in any way I can. Give first is one of my core values, especially during COVID. I bet I spent more time working with business owners and just helping because it made me feel better. So I'm always happy to help.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you.
All righty. Take care.